I thank the gentlelady from Washington. Now recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Beth Van Duyne.
Well, I appreciate the time, Mr. Chairman. I continue to be shocked that this administration would cede U.S. sovereignty to allow other countries to dictate changes to the U.S. tax code. And this administration could not convince Congress to pass its extremist tax hike agenda. So it's basically given the keys to our tax writers to Paris. Whoever drafted this plan has to understand that this attacks our tax base, our economic strength, and it transfers wealth from the U.S. to countries abroad, and it benefits countries abroad. It benefits workers abroad, not American workers. So we've talked about this, but I'm not sure I've really gotten an answer. So the Joint Commission on Taxation estimates that the U.S. would lose over $120 billion in tax revenues. Do you agree with that number? I mean, you've given reasons why it may or may not, but do you agree with how they got to that number?
Well, as I've mentioned, the JCT analysis looks at multiple scenarios, right? And again, I think it's important to look at the baseline in the JCT analysis. The JCT analysis baseline is adoption of Pillar 2 by 40-plus jurisdictions, many of our largest trading partners and major economies. And again, the midpoint of their range for the impact of adoption by other countries of Pillar 2 on U.S. tax receipts is a $25 billion increase in U.S. tax receipts.
So that's the midpoint, but as you mentioned, I mean, they're looking at a number of different scenarios, which I would hope that our own Treasury would look at. So can you tell me what the U.S. Treasury has defined as would be the loss or the gain?
The Treasury Department has provided estimates on the adoption of the administration's Green Book proposals to enact Pillar 2.
So you've done an independent analysis?
On the adoption of the administration's proposals to enact Pillar 2, yes.
Okay, so have those been shared with
Those have been
Congress?
shared with Congress and have been made publicly available.
Okay, so what was your number?
I unfortunately do not recall off the top of my head, but it's multiple hundreds of billions of dollars.
So the Treasury is saying that as a result of this, we're going to make a ton more money, even though what we're doing is allowing foreign nations to be able to define our tax codes. And we are so sure that European countries are going to be so favorable to U.S. companies and not want to be competitive at all?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. No, the Treasury has provided estimates of U.S. adoption of Pillar 2, yes.
And this is based on which of the scenarios that JCT used?
This is based on U.S. adoption of Pillar 2.
Correct, but JCT used a number of different variables. What's the Treasury's variables?
I don't think it aligns perfectly with JCT's analysis.
So how could they be so far off?
Well, I think they do analyze different scenarios.
But you just said that you're using the same. So which is it? Is it similar or is it not similar? And what's the different numbers that they're using that you're not using?
I did not say that they were the same. So our Treasury's analysis assumes no change in foreign law, which is the convention for revenue estimating.
So we're expecting that they're not going to change anything and that we're just going to have a free fall of dollars. Okay, makes sense. I mean, no offense to our European friends, but the U.S. has taken a much more aggressive approach when it comes to corporate tax rates, and we have seen that we've been rewarded with growth. In 2008, the U.S. and EU were equally the same size. By 2022, the U.S. economy had grown to $25 trillion, whereas the EU and the U.K. together had only reached $19.8 trillion. America's economy is now nearly 1/3 bigger. It's more than 50% larger than the EU without the UK. So to be this tax deal seems like a race to the bottom and not what Republicans have been accused of at all. We continue to hear from the other side of the aisle that TCJA was a tax scam and created corporate loopholes. Yet in 2022, corporate tax revenues reached a record high of $425 billion, or 43% higher than the final year of the Obama administration. And on top of that, the TCJA included the world's first global minimum tax. So can you please define what's meant for companies by the phrase pay their fair share that continues to be used to justify this continued attack on U.S. Corporate base?
I think the goals of the Pillar 2 project are to level the playing field for
No, I'm
US
asking,
businesses.
can you define pay their fair share? Is there a percentage that the administration would deem fair? Is there an amount, a dollar amount?
Again, I can speak to the Pillar 2 project, which is to level the playing field for U.S. businesses.
Maybe,
including-
but you're repeating the same talking points. Specifically, the phrase "pay their fair share" continues to be used, and I'm asking: is there a dollar amount? Is there a percentage that's quote fair?
I do not have a dollar amount.
Do you have a percentage?
No.
Okay, I yield back. Thank you.